Now at 5 on WRTV, from city to city, lines wrapping around the block. A vivid visual today as Hoosiers turn out in strong numbers to elect their leaders. This is how Indiana does early voting.
I'm Megan Sanctorum. We'll give you a live look at Marion County's early vote center and tell you why some of these voters say it was so important to them to cast their vote on the first day.
And COVID-19 is not slowing down in Indiana, and it could be forcing some people to make tough choices. We investigate the lasting impacts this could have on equality and diversity in the workplace.
From the station working for you, this is WRTV News at 5, streaming now.
And good evening to you here at 5 o'clock. I'm Mark Mullins.
And I'm Amanda Starrentino. It is the first day of early voting here in Indiana, and voters are making their voices heard.
Right now, the City County building downtown is the only place to cast an early vote until additional locations open up later this month in Marion County.
WRTV's Megan Sanctorum has been talking with voters all day. Megan, what does it look like now out there?
Well, Amanda, the polls just closed moments ago at 5 o'clock, but you can see there are still about 50 or 60 people in line outside of the City County building waiting to get in to vote. Leaders here say as long as you are in line by 5 o'clock, you will be able to cast your vote today. However, this is a much different scene than earlier today when the line wrapped around the building. This is the day so many have been waiting for. It's the first day of early voting in Indiana. A line wrapped around the City County building.
There's a lot of contention, a lot of dissatisfaction, and the only way to get that resolved is for people to come out and express their opinion through voting.
Some voters, like Adam Wilson, waited 3 hours to get inside, but it's a wait he says is well worth it.
Very excited because I came from a communist country where voting is really hard.
He's from Cuba and says the ability to vote is something he doesn't take for granted.
But I get very emotional because it's something that I think I have to do. Made me happy to have my voice heard.
We saw people come prepared to wait with fold-out chairs, books, and snacks.
This is a cane chair, and you can pull it out like cane prepared. So it's not that hard. See, and I was prepared to sit out there and wait.
Patricia Parsons says her whole family came out to vote together. She too says she got emotional.
I think I was more excited when I was sealing my envelope. When I was completely done, I said, oh man, my hand was shaking. I said, because this is gonna count.
Inside, there were dividers between poll workers and voters. Masks were required, and we saw the polling machines being wiped down. Voters we spoke with say they felt safe, and they hope others continue to come out and make their voices heard.
I would like to see a lot of people come out. I hope the weather's good to support that, and I just want to see big turnout.
As of right now, there have been no reports of any issues inside at the polls. And right now, we're still working to get a total number of how many people came out to vote early here in Marion County. We will pass that information along as soon as we get it. Reporting live, Megan Sanctorum, WRTV.
Megan, thank you. Indiana's capital isn't the only place we found long lines of people ready to early vote. This is what things look like up in Fort Wayne today. Allen County election officials knew it would be a busier election season than usual, and they also wanted to minimize the risk of spreading COVID-19. So they temporarily moved the normal headquarters to the Memorial Coliseum to make room for staff and voters to maintain social distancing.
A new analysis is finding Indiana's reliance on older voting machines could mean a security risk in this election. The IU Public Policy Institute says 52 of Indiana's 92 counties use direct recording electronic voting machines that do not include a verified paper trail for voters. Now, complaints have surfaced recently in other states alleging those types of machines either switched or deleted votes, likely due to a software glitch from outdated machines. After a federal lawsuit was filed in 2019, Indiana was put on path to paper trail voting systems by 2030. The vice presidential debate is on for tomorrow night. Former Indiana Governor Mike Pence will face off against the Democratic nominee, Senator Kamala Harris. Our live coverage begins at 8 with a 2020 special. That's followed by the live debate at 9 p.m. And stick around for news at 11 here on WRTV.
Today, Indiana is facing continued high COVID-19 case numbers and a spike in reported deaths. The State Department of Health reports 990 new cases of COVID-19 in Indiana. That brings our moving daily average to 1,131. Since the beginning of the pandemic, nearly 127,000 Hoosiers have been diagnosed with the virus. We are at a peak point right now in cases. After our first wave of the virus, things settled down for a while around June. The second wave picked back up in July, and daily reported cases in Indiana have stayed high for months, with a strong surge over the past couple of weeks. Today, the state also reported 30 new deaths of Hoosiers with COVID-19, an unusually high number. Those deaths took place over the course of about 10 days, not all in one day. Over the course of 7 months, 3,484 people in Indiana have died with this virus. We have details on these numbers for you in this story, the WRTV app.
President Trump is back at the White House today after spending 3 nights in the hospital getting treated for COVID-19. Meanwhile, the coronavirus continues to spread across the federal government, with the Coast Guard Vice Commandant now testing positive, and the entire Joint Chiefs of Staff are now self-quarantining. ABC's Elizabeth Schulze is in Washington with the latest.
Unfortunately, the coronavirus spreading further across the government. The Vice Commandant of the Coast Guard, the latest to reveal he has tested positive. He was at the White House as recently as 10 days ago and is now in quarantine. Nearly all of the Joint Chiefs of Staff are also self-quarantining as a precaution. The news coming amid a COVID outbreak within the White House, starting all the way at the top with President Trump. At least 20 people who were near or around the president last week have now tested positive. And yet Trump is once again minimizing the threat of the virus to the public. The president falsely claiming COVID is no more deadly than the seasonal flu. That post getting flagged by Twitter as untrue and taken down by Facebook. Trump also tweeting he won't negotiate another coronavirus stimulus package until after the election, claiming the economy is doing very well. More than 210,000 Americans have died from COVID-19, and cases are now rising in 32 states, while nearly 11 million Americans remain out of work since February. But President Trump delivering this message in a promotional video.
Don't let it dominate you. Don't be afraid of it. You're going to beat it. We have the best medical equipment. We have the best medicines.
In reality, the president received medical care inaccessible to most Americans, and he was sick enough to be twice placed on supplemental oxygen, was provided experimental drugs that aren't FDA approved for COVID, and received a steroid usually reserved for severely or critically ill patients. Today, the White House physician, who initially falsely claimed Trump had not received supplemental oxygen, now says the president is reporting no symptoms and that his vitals are stable. The White House turning the dramatic moment when President Trump returned from Walter Reed Medical Center and ripped off his mask into a highly produced campaign video. But Joe Biden releasing this social media video in response and underlining the importance of masks during an NBC town hall.
Now, what is this macho thing? I'm not going to wear a mask. What's the deal here? Big deal. Does it hurt you? Be patriotic, for God's sake.
President Trump, who's trailing Biden by 16 points in a new CNN SSRS poll, is eager to shift the conversation away from his health and back to the campaign. President Trump tweeting today he will attend next week's presidential debate in Miami. Elizabeth Schulze, ABC News, Washington.
Well, it is 7 minutes after the top of the hour on October 6th. It's Tuesday. I say all that because I want you to know that I'm live. Even though I say the same thing, it's sunny, it's mild, we're moving on with the same old story, but there is a chance for a change by the time we get later in the week. Enjoy it. It is beautiful, isn't it? Shelbyville, Indianapolis at 76, Kokomo 75. If you're counting, this dry stretch has now reached 49 days since our last big rainfall, in quotes. That was still under an inch of rain, and that goes back to August 18th. Since then, we've only had 0.12 of an inch of rain. A big blue H sits over Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia, keeping weather systems from approaching central Indiana, and also kicking up the wind when you have the high pressure to the southeast and low pressure in the Great Lakes. The wind gusts today have reached 30. It will stay strong tonight, but that keeps us warmer. Temperatures in the 50s tomorrow morning and another sunny day. We'll make a move toward 80 degrees tomorrow. We'll talk about the temperature pattern and if we're this dry, when will we see some rain? I'll look for an opportunity coming up.
All right, see you soon, Kev. Still ahead on WRTV, going back to the basics on being there for each other, how this local effort is creating a village to put resources in the hands of moms.
And for many workers now, life looks altered, but it may be affecting some employees differently. Why some say the pandemic may rewind progress in the workplace.
Plus, you're going to start seeing all kinds of deals for vacations in 2021. But that comes with this warning about deals that sound too good to be true. That's ahead on WRTV.
From the station working for you, this is WRTV News at 5. Streaming now.
Well, now to Anderson, where a nonprofit there wants to help single mothers. They've branded themselves as a hub for women in need of the extra support. The Mommy Movement Incorporated started last year as a way for mothers to not only unite, but also to gain the training needed to earn success in their workplaces and life in general. The founder of the organization has already started a food pantry and a clothing closet to help keep the women moving toward excellence.
People don't understand sometimes you can be working a job making $12 an hour and have 5 kids, rent, lights, and gas. It's a struggle. So if you don't have a plan in place, it could be stressful.
Tonight at 6, we explain what else this group has in mind when it comes to expanding their resources.
A new study finds 1 in 4 women are considering downshifting or leaving the workplace due to the pandemic. Kat Sandoval at our news gathering partner Newsy spoke with some researchers who say this can have long-term impacts on equality and diversity in the workplace.
Life before COVID is already crazy as a working mom. My workday starts from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to bed.
How is the coronavirus affecting working women? A Lean In and McKinsey study found that for the first time in years, women in corporate America intended to leave their jobs at higher rates than men. 1 in 4 women are considering downshifting their careers or leaving the workforce.
If that happens, we will rewind all the progress we've seen over the last 6 years of this study, all of the progress on women in leadership in 1 single year.
In the 6 years they've done this study, men and women left their companies at about the same rate. But this year, researchers are sounding an alarm. They say the new findings could mean setbacks for gender equality in the workplace.
There are fewer women in the workplace already, particularly up in the higher ranks of leadership. If those women leave, we've got a real problem on our hands.
Lean In CEO says it's not just about losing the women already in corporate leadership. It's about losing the impact those women can have by helping other women advance. Aside from senior level women, Black women and mothers were especially impacted. Moms found balancing work and home even more challenging. They were 3 times more likely than dads to be responsible for the majority of housework and childcare in the time of virtual learning. The challenge is, of course, even greater for single moms.
Thankfully, my dad decided to retire during the pandemic, and so he's been a huge help.
Lacey Reese drops her child off at daycare or at her father's. As her household's primary breadwinner, she has no choice but to work and later come home to her 2-year-old.
Every time I come home, she welcomes me with open arms, and having to kind of deny it at the door, oh, wait. It was kind of sad, but she got used to it fast. She was like, oh, Mommy, wash your hands.
Spreading the virus to her baby is the last thing Reese wants to do. It's her biggest worry.
I think those studies are skewed. You don't get the whole real perspective of working women, which is a bigger population than people making $150 and above.
It's worth noting the study doesn't encompass all working women. Entrepreneurs and essential workers outside corporate America aren't included. But Thomas says studies like this show it's still a problem for all women.
If it's bad for women in corporate America, it's worse for women outside of corporate America, because corporate America has generally more supports in place.
Kat Sandoval, Newsy, Chicago.
The next tropical system is taking aim on the U.S. Gulf Coast. Hurricane Delta is the 26th named storm in the 2020 hurricane season. It's advanced into a Category 3 hurricane today and is forecast to reach Category 4 status by tomorrow. It should hit the Gulf states later this week. Experts say residents from Texas to the Florida Panhandle need to keep a close eye on the storm. If Hurricane Delta makes a U.S. landfall, it'll be the 7th storm to do so on the Gulf Coast.
And here in Indiana, it is apple picking season, but a late spring freeze is cutting it short at some farms. Statewide temperature drops in April and May hurt budding apple trees unable to withstand the cold. That caused severe fruit damage and significant crop loss. According to a tree fruit specialist at Purdue University, 70% of the apple crop was impacted by this freeze. Tuttle Orchards in Greenfield told the Associated Press only 5% of its crop was salvageable. That forced them to end apple season a month earlier than usual. Kevin Gregory joins us now with a look at our forecast today. Hey, Kevin.
Hello, Amanda. Annie Gregory, when she was younger, always asked, can we go to the apple patch? And I would say, I think you're getting confused. It's the apple orchard and then the pumpkin patch, but we call it the apple patch. All right, we'll start our conversation here with a brush with nature. Joe Zvek sent this in from Hamilton County in Carmel. He's had a visitor here recently this week, making an appearance on a couple of occasions. And it looks like the fox knows that we're watching. Tonight, you can watch the space station flyover. How about that? It's going to be a relatively short flyover, 3 minutes, but give it a shot. 8:37, look about 30 degrees above the northwest horizon. You'll pick up a steady white light. It'll move to over 50 degrees above the horizon before disappearing in the southeast at about 8:40. Temperatures, they're in the 70s now. I'll also mention tomorrow night, and I'll highlight this, we'll have another longer space station flyover. Temperatures comfortable now, comfortable tonight. They'll drop about 20 degrees into the mid-50s overnight from the mid-70s. Skies will stay clear. It will stay breezy, and then during the day tomorrow, we'll go ahead and call it windy once again. We've had the winds today, and they'll be strong tomorrow out of the west and then eventually northwest. Temperatures peak tomorrow around 80. That's with lots of sunshine and that west wind. But what will happen once the wind comes around to the northwest tomorrow evening, tomorrow night, that will send temperatures on the cooler side as we get to Thursday. So we'll retreat a little bit but stay above average. 73 with lots of sunshine during the day on Thursday. As you look at other high temperatures, a range from the lower 70s to almost 80 still to the south, so there will be a temperature gradient across central Indiana. Rain chance Sunday. That would be from remnants of Delta, Hurricane Delta that we told you about. There is Sunday morning. Still the best chance for a widespread beneficial rain looks to be along the Ohio River and south, but I would say from central Indiana south, we'll have a chance for rain Sunday into Monday. We'll hold on to that. We'll keep a chance of rain in early next week. As you can see, the next 7 days, all above the average high, which is right around 70 degrees this time of year with a couple opportunities to touch 80. Mark?
All right, 80 making a comeback. Hey, if you're starting to think about traveling again, maybe next spring, we have a warning about choosing the lowest price you can find on a particular hotel room. Consumer reporter John Matarese says there's a downside of prepaying during the pandemic so you don't waste your money.
By now, most people who had to cancel a vacation due to the pandemic have either received a refund or a credit. But some people who booked non-refundable hotel rooms are still fighting to get their money back. Sarah Pruitt and her best friend had planned a St. Patrick's Day trip to Savannah.
We booked a hotel through Expedia. Unfortunately, with COVID-19, our events got canceled.
But trying to get her $400 back turned into a nightmare.
And we were on and off hold for 8 hours with Expedia. And to no avail, we decided to dispute the charge with the credit card company.
But her card refused because it was a non-refundable room. These days, the lowest price in a hotel room is almost always a non-refundable price, no matter where you get that room. And that means if you have any issue or problem, it can be almost impossible to get your money back. Expedia and other travel sites started refunding trips affected by the national shutdown, but Sarah's trip was a week earlier. So she tried the hotel, but no luck there either. What did the hotel tell you when you called them?
The manager at the hotel stated they basically sell their rooms to Expedia, and then Expedia owns the room for that night.
Travel forums have hundreds of complaints about people unable to get money back from prepaid discount rooms. But non-refundable means you lose what you pay.
Non-refundable rooms I would not suggest at all. They put a lot of loopholes on them.
This is a great reminder of the risk of always grabbing the lowest price, especially during a pandemic, so you don't waste your money. I'm John Matteries, WRTV.
It may not look exactly like last year, but not much of 2020 has. Coming up, how the Indianapolis Colts still plan to keep it festive this Halloween season. Welcome back to the news at 5. There may not be traditional trick-or-treating this Halloween this year, but the Indianapolis Colts are working to make sure kids still have a great holiday. The team is hosting a drive-through Halloween celebration. The kids will still get a chance at giveaways and candy along with photos with team mascot Blue, plus a chance to meet a Colts player virtually. That's all happening October 28th at the South Lot of Lucas Oil Stadium, and the idea is for it to be completely drive-through, so no walk-ups.
A big honor today for NBA star and Indy native George Hill. He was named a recipient of the end-of-season NBA Cares Community Assist Award. The award recognizes a player's commitment to positively impact their communities. Hill and his Milwaukee Bucks teammates helped encourage others in the NBA to use their platforms to advance social justice causes. Hill and the Bucks elected not to play during their first round of the playoff series following several high-profile police shootings of black people. Hill also partnered with community leaders in Indianapolis to open the Him by Her School for the Arts on the East Side this year.
We continue our in-depth coverage of the race for the District 5 congressional seat. Tonight at 6, we go one-on-one with Democratic nominee Christina Hale.
The first day of early voting is showing this will be a busy election season for polling places. That's why we're eyeing a new website that can cut down on your wait. That's ahead on the news at 5:30 on WRTV.